Hello everyone, I'm Runak Fathi from Statisticians World. I'm back with another statistical project and another question. And here it is today's question. Can a simple habit like writing down what you're grateful for actually improve your happiness or reduce stress? In this video, I'm going to show you how I explored that question through a simulated psychology study using R. We'll walk through the study design, the stats behind it, and what the results tell us, plus how this fits into real-world research and students mentoring. So let's get into it. This project started as a part of my teaching portfolio. A student of mine have done this real research in psychology, so I wanted to give you a simulation of this study that mirrors real intervention that is often used in positive psychology. So the idea was simple: track two groups of people over 2 weeks. One group kept a daily gratitude journal, writing down things that they were thankful for, like their family, their house, their job, and so on. The other group did neutral journaling, more like demonstrating their day without showing emotional content. Then we measured changes in their happiness and their stress levels. So for the study design, we simulated data for 60 participants, randomly assigned to the two groups. Everyone filled out a baseline survey, started journaling, and filled it out again after 2 weeks. We used two key measures here: the subjective happiness scale and a self-rated weekly stress score. We also tracked compliance, meaning that how many days each person actually journaled out of the 14 days. So now for the analysis, which was done entirely in R. Let's see how I actually analyzed the data and why I chose each method. First, since each participant was measured twice, once before and once after the intervention here is journaling, we're dealing with repeated measures data. That means observations are not independent, meaning that each person's post-intervention or post-journaling happiness score is likely related to their pre-journaling happiness score. So to handle this properly, I used the mixed effects model, which accounts for this dependency by including a random intercept for each person. That way, we allow each person to have their own baseline level of happiness. And here is the model's formula. We use the LMER function, and this model simply answers a key question: did happiness change over time? And what that change different between the gratitude and control groups? So group here is the between subject factor, which is gratitude vs neutral. Time is the within subject factor, pre-journaling score and post-journaling score. Group by time tests for an intervention, which tells us if the groups change differently over time. And finally, 1 to the condition of subject ID includes a random intercept per participant to model individual variation. So here you may ask, why this technique? Why not another pre-post method? This method is better than just subtracting scores or using a basic ANOVA because, as I said, it accounts for within-person correlation and variation between individuals. So that's why we chose this method. For stress, it's a little different. Rather than modeling it in the same mixed effects framework, I chose a simpler approach. We calculated the change in stress for each participant, post minus pre-stress, and then we used an independent sample t-test to compare the average change between the two groups. So before going further within the last technique, again, there is something I want to mention. And here again is about choosing the methods. You might be wondering, if we measured both happiness and stress before and after the journaling, why did we use two different types of techniques? Why a mixed effects model for happiness but just a t-test for stress? This is a great question, and here is the simple answer. It depends on what kind of question we're asking and how we want to model the change. For happiness, we use the mixed effect model, but why? Because we wanted to look at the full pattern of change over time, not just the amount of change, but whether that change looked different between the two groups. And we included both the pre and post happiness scores in the model and told R, here, these two scores comes from the same person, so don't treat them like two separate people. And that's where the mixed effect model comes in, to give each person their own baseline starting point. That's really important in psychology because people can start at very different levels of happiness and their starting point of happiness may be different. But for stress, we used something simpler, a t-test on change scores. Here, we just looked at how much each person's stress changed, and then we compared the average change between the two groups. That's a simpler question because we want to know who improved more, and because each person only contributes one value, their change score, we don't need to model time or individual differences in the same way. I hope you get it. And so at the end, we may ask, why not use the same model for both? Well, actually, we could have. And in bigger studies or formal publications, you might want to do that for consistency, to use mixed effects model for stress too. But here's the thing, not every research question needs a complex model. For happiness, we wanted to see the intervention, how change unfolded over time in each group. But for stress, we just wanted to know who got better and by how much. So the t-test did the job and kept things simple and clear. So we came to the conclusion that different questions, different tools. And in real research, choosing the right analysis isn't always about what's most advanced. It's about what best answers the questions you're actually asking. So I just wanted to tell you this important point, and I hope you got it. So let's move on to the last technique. Since in every real research you may have missing data, maybe some people don't like to fill out the survey completely. So we here try to have some missing values. And rather than just deleting those cases, I used multiple imputation with the mice package. In this technique, we fill the missing values based on patterns in the observed data, and then the technique does it multiple times to reflect uncertainty. We then combine the results across imputed datasets, which gives more accurate estimates than just using list-wise removal or single imputation. In psychology and health research, this is considered to be the best practice when the data is missing at random. So let's go ahead and see the codes. Let's start with the mixed effects model. This model tests whether happiness changed over time differently for the gratitude and neutral groups. The key term here is the interaction time by group. Here, the results show that this intervention was statistically significant with a p-value of 0.0011. That means that the gratitude group's happiness increased more over time than the neutral group. And you can also see the plots, the pink line showing the happiness increase for the gratitude group and the blue one is for the neutral group. Next, I looked at the stress. I calculated how much stress decreased for each person, then used a simple t-test to compare groups. The gratitude group, as you can see, had a larger reduction in stress compared to the neutral group. You can see the p-value, which was 0.019, which is statistically significant. So it tells us that journaling about gratitude didn't just boost happiness, it also helped reduce stress. That's a good news. And finally, for creating and handling missing data, we used multiple imputation from the mice package. In the first line, I chose 5 rows from the dataset and set their happiness post values to the null or missing values. And the method PMM means that we used predictive mean matching, which helps preserve realistic variability. And to extract the data, we use the complete function, which will give us the 5 imputed datasets for analysis. But remember that after imputing the data, I reran the mixed effects models again, and the results were very similar. So that was it. That was the process of doing a mixed effects models that we have done on a real research on the effects of gratitude on improving happiness and reducing stress. I hope you liked it, and this kind of project is part of how I mentor students in experimental design, statistical reasoning, and data analysis using R or SPSS, depending on their background. So whether it's thesis data, survey analysis, or experiment design, I help students not only get results, but also understand them. So if you're a student working on a research project and want to understand your data more deeply, or if you're just curious about how psychological and health science meets statistics, subscribe for more. You can also explore this project, as I said, and others in my mentoring portfolio in GitHub link in the bio.